Okay, just having a moment here. I was just coming to be real clear in realisation. Good mate of mine, Span, he's a bit of a old style, real powerful dude. And he's asking me, well, how do I know I'm true to myself and my heart and my mind? I mean, how do you know that? How do you know? And I was saying all kinds of things about it just in a recent conversation, but here's a perfect example, you see, right now. You see. So what occurred is, in this first world, is I happen to be in the city right now. I've come into Brisbane city. Right now. Now I've gone down to a place there's it's called Gorgeous George, right? And they've got very good coffee. So I got this real strong cup of coffee, right? 6 shots coffee, right? Of their special blend, so it's extra. You know, it's a good one. Now, that's a bit of a fiendish amount, you know, and so a bloke like me, if you're going to have something like that, you're going into it, you know. And, then you get in the car, right? And also the costs are going up a little bit, you know, their cost of beans are going up by 130%, you know, so that sort of factors in just that little bit extra of a factor, right? So there's whatever, an extra 80 cents or something like that. It's in the change. And then get in the car, right? Make a stable, stabilise the stable holder a little bit more stable, so that air conditioner doesn't get on it. Like, we've got a special way of... Anyway, put in first gear and then just take off a little bit quick and spill the bloody coffee in its extra stable thing. And then the swear words that come out of me, luckily the dogs can't speak English or they'd be repeating them, and then I'll get composure, right? And then I'll get around to pulling up at the Tarragindi Deli. Now, if you want to get yourself some good meat and you want to get, or some good deli products, if you want good meat, well, I recommend Mullet Abdel Ramen over at Red Sea Groceries over the other side of that hill. But otherwise, you get down to Tarragindi Deli and you get good milk and you get all the other good stuff. Like, that's the proper good stuff. That's where you want to go to Delicatessen and get all the proper good stuff, and he's got good meat there too. I don't know if it's blessed or not, you know, and I know Mullet Abdel Ramen, they got good blessed meat. And anyway, so I want to go get the good milk and the good bread that he's got there on the weekend. Levain. You want good bread? Levain. And anyway, so I only got a certain amount of change, right? And then go to the use some card, but Westpac, you see, is a Westpac card. Doesn't work. The little chip thing don't work, and the magnetic thing on it don't work, you see. So again, I've got no reception on the bloody telecommunication device, so I'm having to transfer to this other thing. We can use the phone as that NFC thing, right? Bloody no reception. Good to go outside, stand in the car park, wave the phone around, look like one of those bloody wankers that think they're going to get better reception by holding the thing up in the air. And then you end up holding up in the air as though it's doing something, you know, like realise that you got your hand over the antenna because the antenna's in the microphone. So you radiate in your hand even more, you go, like, come on you bastard, get some signal. And then, what do you know? Westpac internet banking's not working. Either that, or the internet's working because the other thing's low, but Westpac internet banking, go back in there, count out, scrounge around, dig around, find any change. No, there's no more change to be found. Anyway, I go back in and go, look, I have to just get the bread. Leave the milk. Go back out. Grab some butter, right? But just like 70 cents short of the butter next door, because I can't buy butter from Tarragindi. It's too expensive, you know. It's just tiny little bits of butter. It's like 3 mouthfuls. $11 for 3 mouthfuls of butter. I mean that don't work for me. But it's a good butter. It's the proper stuff. But you only get 3 mouthfuls. You know, like And the reason why butter and milk and products are so expensive, well, because Coles and Woolworths own it all. And so it's just simple price fixing, profiteering kind of thing. FYI, everybody, you see Coles and Woolworths, tell them you don't like the fact that they're bending you over a milk barrel and giving it to you in a really bad way. And they could be giving you your milk and your dairy products in a much better way. Now, so you finally come to a point. What's the point of having bloody sourdough without butter anyway? See? These first world concerns, they eat at us. They eat at us. They eat at us. So anyway, there's been like a number of things that have been frustrating Bushtralian Jim up to this point. And then, don't forget this one here, who'd have to say he's the most obedient, the most devoted, the most with the program. He's just with the program all the time. Very rarely ever have to give him a command. If I do, it's to stay here and not go off and engage in hunting activity. But I very rarely ever have to give him a command. And then so, obviously he got this real nice air conditioner comfort him, and he decides he's going to get into my seat. While the car's running. And I'm like, oh, no. Get back in the back, get back into your spot. Out of my seat. Tell him 3 times, but I don't want to yell at him. I don't want to break that up. I don't want to yell at him, you see. And then so, end up putting the sourdough down. Obviously I took the coffee out of the car so that it didn't get cold in the air conditioner or get spills or anything. And but just so I don't get cold in the aircon. And then I negotiate the car park and everything like that. I get out on the street. First gear, second, third gear. No, first gear, second gear, third gear, up this hill, in traffic. And then I realise that the coffee's not sitting in my extra secure cup holder that had already fallen down once and frustrated. And can you see there? You know the imagery there of the dog swimming. And then I start driving, right? This is the thing, right? So I start driving real steady and real slow. Drop down to a walking pace out in traffic, negotiate lane changes, get up the hill and take the first left I can, pull up, as though I've got a chance of saving my coffee, you see. Like as though I've got a chance of saving my coffee. And then, sure enough, there's coffee, 6 shots of coffee all over the roof of the car that I've only had a couple of sips out of. And because I'm trying, instead of just going, I'm trying to savour and slow down the caffeine intake to sort of work in balance of moderation, so make it feel like I'm moderated at least. And then so I find that the 6 shots of coffee, which is a very strong, bitter, but not real oily roast, is a very good mix of coffee that they roast themselves, green, and it's a Bushtralian Jim special. That's what he actually called it today. And then I scrounged around and I got like $3.15 or something, 25 cents or something like that. I managed to. I still got in my pocket there, so I go back around. Fortunately, in the first world, when you're in the city, then there's cafes everywhere. And so I saunter in, and they're like, "Hi, how you going?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm good. You know, I'm good, but I just had a cup of coffee and I left it on the roof of my car. And my internet bank is not working. Can't get back. My car's not working. And there were 6 shots of coffee in that cup. And they look at me, and they just look at me, and they cringe. And the whole cafe cringes. And then I put down the money there. I go, look, can you just make me like a double shot espresso or something? Here's like $3 and whatever or something. And then they look at, oh yeah, okay, no worries, that's good. Happy to help. And so I got my double shot espresso. I mean, that's enough, isn't it? This is enough, really, what it is. You only need a sip of coffee. And that stimulates the body. It says, oh, there's caffeine or blah, blah, blah. That does pretty much what you want from the coffee as far as the adrenal stimulation and the world's most commonly used mood-altering drug, which is a drug because it's got a lethal dose rate. You will kill rodents. If you give them enough caffeine, you'll kill them. So, I mean, it's got a lethal dose rate. And anything beyond that is it's really a hyperstimulation of the liver, isn't it? And the gallbladder, and then that's the hyperstimulation, and the liver, it's all these tannins and there's all kinds of other actives. There's a particular name that I forget, and it agitates me when I forget the ones. Hepatostimulus kind of thing. Anyway, this coffee here, it's a lovely cup of coffee. It's great. It's perfect. But it is not the cup of coffee that Dan made me. No, I beg your pardon. No, Alex ended up making it. Yeah, Alex made it. Alex made me a perfect cup of coffee. I've got to say, like, that was a good cup of coffee. Now, the point is here, I've got this tension in my shoulders and in my neck and this agitation in I've got coffee. And it's actually what happens because this is a weaker coffee. It actually agitates me. Weak coffee agitates me. I'd rather not have a cup of coffee at all if it's going to be weak, because it actually just agitates me in the nerves in my neck, shoulder, back. So I'm a very highly electric person. And then so, on my way here, I find myself, even though I got this cup of coffee, and let's face it, I'm a real punsy sissy having a cup of coffee in the city. I mean, it's either all the first world sissy concerns that are going on here. And the point of all this is get real with yourself. And so then I had this thing go through my mind. I'm real clear with myself in my heart and in my mind, right? But I had this thing go through my mind, just like the slightest impulse. You see how I got this lens flare up here going on there? So just like, let's say something like that, just the slightest impulse that I wanted to blame, wanted to project out the power, the God-given free will power, and the emotional power and emotional responsibility, perception, and the emotional experience. I wanted to project it out as a blame to the bloke I just bought the bread off. It was Anthony. He was a great guy. Tarragini Deli. I mean, I got the bread. And he's a real lovely, gentle, patient bloke, high quality product. Really good guy, but there was just the fraction of an impulse to try and lay it all on him. And then it's just such a slight impulse, you see, that I didn't even need to have a thought to think, oh no, to stop that and think, no, I'm not doing that, you see. So I'm real clear with myself, a real no. And then there was like this, just a fraction of an impulse to try and project it onto the person who made me this cup of coffee, because it's just not strong enough. It's just not the coffee. The coffee's just not strong. And then there's this fraction of an impulse to try and project it onto the institution of the Westpac Bank. Just the slightest hint of a fraction of an impulse that may have been about to occur but didn't actually occur, you see. And then it was instantly relevant with perspective, seeing myself as I'm driving in the car, driving down the road. And it was so clear that it was Boxer. He got in the seat. He was in the way. He didn't get out of the fucking way. I beg your pardon, I didn't swear. But it's not so much really a swear word these days, is it? But anyway, try and refrain. That's for an F word. Why don't you use refrain? Refrain. Instead of going, use refrain. I might try and do that. Anyway, so it was clear. The culprit was Boxer. That was the disruptive, not going with the flow thing. Because everyone else going with the flow, and the rest was just Westpac. And everything else is my creation. And, like being vulnerable and leaving the money in the bank and not taking it out of the bank. Because I normally, as soon as I get money in the bank, I go and take it out of the bank. Don't leave your money in the bank. If you leave your money in the bank, it's not your money, it's their money. That's how the law works, you see. There's any kind of crisis, then that money disappears, or any money that's left, your money is actually the bank's money. It's not your money, see. And I feel like saying something like, like the Westpac cards aren't working. You can't get money out, and the internet banking thing don't work. So everybody, you're vulnerable. Don't have your money in the bank because it's electronic. Go get your money out of the bank. Can it cause a run on the bank? Would that be possible? Everyone go get all your money out of the bank so that you've got your money, because the bank doesn't have your money, and if anything goes wrong, then your money is actually the bank's money. It's protected by Australian law. That's how it is. Right, so at that point anyway, you see how it comes to be that I am the one that's created all of it. And being true to self, there's still something about there being the slightest impulse to project it out onto someone else or something else. So one's not responsible for one's own stupidity. And then what that means is one is therefore not responsible for one's own creation. And then that means that God has given a free will, or there is a God-given free will, that all the ancient scriptures talk about. All cultures talk about. Basically every person admits, even the atheists admit there is some other bigger thing than themselves that they are a part of, even if there's no God or anything like that, And then it comes down to responsibility of self. You are the only person that is responsible. No one else is responsible for anything in your life, because you're the one that made it happen, that allowed it to happen. By default, some kind of agreement, some kind of participation, some kind of acceptance, some kind of allowance, some kind of interaction and input, some kind of involvement. And I feel I've been down that path very much to get very clear with myself, you see. And then still to notice that there's those little impulses. Well, that sort of folds back in on itself to show how to be really clear with yourself and make sure that you are clear with yourself. I had those impulses in my mind. It was my mind that had those little nano impulses of thoughts that I didn't need to stop because I've come that far in life, but that's how far I am in life. See, I didn't need to stop those thoughts from occurring and then overlay them with, no, that is not the case. I don't think that, I don't want to feel that, and I acknowledge the perception, like, see that far, but still acknowledging that we're there, and then just feeling towards the dog. And obviously I can't. I mean, if anything goes on with the dogs, it's because I got dogs. And the way that I have dogs, the way that I deal with the dogs, the way that I live, the way that I do my therapy work with dogs, the way I'm saving the world with dogs. So, of course, any tiny little thing that has anything to do with anything related to the word dog, when it comes to me, is entirely my God-given free will being expressed with such splendor and magnitude that, of course, there's nobody else out there that's worthy of having that kind of authority in my life. Yeah? How about that one? And so the other thing goes, my shoulders are still tight. I still got this tension in my shoulders of agitation at this coffee not being strong, even though I'm getting what I need. How much of it is mind over matter with everything? And how much of it is spirit over mind, body, heart, and everything else? Now I'll leave you with something that great man called John Nobbs said, is that the body can be pushed past a threshold and then pushed a bit more and then it can't do any more. The mind can be pushed past a threshold and then be pushed a little bit more and then it can't be pushed anymore. But the spirit or soul, well, that's limitless. That's eternal and it's limitless, and it does not have a breaking point. And then as far as the other breaking points are concerned in life, then I've been past all of them, and I've just found myself to be totally unbreakable. Now, if that's you, if you're unbreakable, then I'd say you're probably unbreakable because, or you're most likely unbreakable because you're true to yourself in your heart and in your mind. And I commend you for that. I recognise you for that. I'm here with you in solidarity. Now, I feel like rambling on with all this stuff. I was sitting there, this beautiful thing here. What we got here is, we counted 7 different species of fish in here the other day. But one of them is Talarpia. And so we're going through this whole thing here, thinking that this particular creek system here was really infested with tilapia. However, I was standing in this yesterday, cooling down, doing some heavy work, and up the creek there, doing a bit of regen and hacking through all these weeds and stuff, and then I was overheating and cooling down there. And then I find that I have all these mullet, about the size of my palm, about that long. The whole school and all these mullets swimming around at my feet. I had a good look at them because they're swimming around me, and there's a few schools on them and stuff, and they certainly aren't tilapia. So that's a real good sign. And if you do see tilapia and you got water that you can see the bottom of, and there's tilapia in it, well, catch those tilapia, get some lemongrass, some salt, and some olive oil, and make a real hot fire, and then the coals come down, and then you can just put the fish straight on the fire, right? And then onto the coals. And when you do that, you can cook them in a particular way, right? That the skin just peels off. And you've got this beautiful flesh underneath it, you pick off the bone, and the skin just peels off on both sides to the fire, and it is succulent. Oh, you want a bit of pepper? Don't forget the pepper. Have that one for free. Cheerio.